welcome everybody here at the IBC 2015 at the Maxon booth, and we've got a really great lineup of speakers here, and this one is no exception. He's also a very nice guy and a friend of mine, and he's the Scandinavian lead trainer of Cinema 4D. He has incredible knowledge of Cinema 4D and other programs, and he's a veteran. He started with Cinema 4D release 6, I guess. Unbelievable, 6 so long ago. Yeah, now we're on R17, which is a much higher number. So also welcome all the people on the internet. Thanks that you're watching, and you will have some great presentations, and I would like to welcome now for his great presentation, it's Thomas Andreasen.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock Sunday morning here in Amsterdam, so you're very welcome here. And also on the internet, I hope you're awake. I hope I have something really interesting to show you. I think I do, because I'm going to show you the Realflow and Cinema 4D integration with the workflow, and it's a really neat workflow, and it integrates so well. First of all, I'd like to thank Maxon and NextLimit for making this possibility to bring me here and talk to you guys. And then I'd like to show you my show reel, so you will have an idea of the kind of work we do. So that was the show reel. I'm going to start this up as well. As Glenn mentioned, I am instructor in Scandinavia for Cinema 4D. I've traveled to Norway, Finland, and Denmark, where I come from, and done classes in Cinema 4D. Finland, I've done a couple of classes in with a focus on animation for TV and broadcast and efficient ways of creating cool content in a really efficient way. Using MoGraph and motion trackers, bringing 3D objects into footage and stuff like that. So that's one part of my work. I'm also an airbrush artist, and I'm a tattoo artist as well. But the very main part of my workflow or workload is 3D. That's roughly 90% of what I do. So I I really use, that's what I want to mention, why I use Cinema 4D, because I do so much 3D production that I have to have some kind of software that allows me to get the results fast, don't crash, and allow me to make changes and work flexible and fast, and cater for the needs of my clients. The projects I get are usually low to medium budget projects. They have to get out the door really fast, and especially in regards to motion graphics, it's usually on a shoestring budget and a very tight deadline. So I have to be confident that the software will deliver what I want it to deliver. And that's why I'm using Cinema 4D, and that's why I've never really considered going anywhere else. I have checked out other softwares, but there's just nothing there for me that I can do faster in Cinema 4D in regards to the work I do. So, but I'm here to talk about the Realflow integration, and that's kind of the same story. I used to think that doing liquid simulations and doing Realflow work or that kind of stuff would take a team of specialists locked down in a basement working for weeks to get some sort of worthwhile result. And that may be true to some extent if we're talking VFX work. It's a very, very large-scale project, but for the kind of work I do, which is the fast kind of work, getting things in and out the door fast, and I don't take on these extremely large projects, but I really want to bring in liquid simulations and those possibilities into my workflow, so I can offer that to my clients, because they do ask. And up until recently, I've just told them, no, I don't do that, because it's just too much work. And one thing I forgot to mention is my company used to be a one-man company. We've now doubled the workload or the workforce, so we're 2 people. But all the work you see here is 90% of it is done by me only, and now I have another guy helping me, so we're now 2 people doing it. So it's not a team of 3D artists doing this. This is just done by 1 or 2 people. Yeah, I think that's it for that part of it. Let's get into Cinema and Realflow and see what how we work there. Okay. So the first project I've prepared for you is just a very simple scene to give you an overview over how the connection works. It's as I said, very, very basic scene. I'll get into a bit more detail with some of the other examples I have here. But right now, we're just going to be creating a simple liquid simulation. I have a lathe here. Let's call it glass quick, because this is a quick project. The first thing I want to do when I want to get something into Realflow, create the asset here in Cinema 4D, because that's what I'm most confident with. So I'll do as much work as I can in Cinema 4D. As Glenn mentioned, I'm a veteran Cinema 4D user, but I'm a very new Realflow user. So I have this from a beginner's point of view. But it's really easy, as I'm going to be showing you. So I go up here into the plugins menu, Realflow, and here we have the Realflow SD importer and exporter. And I'll take the exporter, so we'll export the glass quick model, add that to my export window. I'll have to set a save path, which in this case is here. I'll call it IBC RF Glass Demo Live, because that's the live project I'm doing. So that's okay. All the other settings are just left as is in this case. So that's been exported. And as you can see here, here's the file, SD format. So I go into Realflow. In here, we have the import menu entry here. I import an object, got located. It's in here. Demo live. Open. So now we get it into Realflow, and that's the same. It could be an animated object, as I'm going to be showing you later in this presentation. I have the glass in here, and you know, the Realflow UI layout is, you know, looks like pretty much any other piece of 3D software. So you would get instantly familiar with it. We have some shelves up here with different tools. In this case, I'm going into the standard particle shelf here, bringing in a circle emitter, and going out here in my move tool here, dragging it up, scaling it a bit down, going up here again, and I can do that with keyboard shortcuts as well. It's not exactly the same shortcuts as in Cinema, but they're placed roughly the same area of the keyboard. So if you're used to working with it, it's, you know, it's really fast to get used to it. So I'll have W, E, R, that are for scale, position, and rotation. So the E key gives me the rotation. So I'm going to be rotating it here. I'm going to move it a bit. Okay. And let's see what this gives me. Before I do anything else, I'd like to save the project. When I go here, save project, I give it a name, glass, quick, and I have to locate the path here. So choose, create new project, and now it's saved. And Realflow, when you do this, this is the glass quick that I just created. Realflow creates an entire hierarchy of folders that it uses for the different simulations and stuff you can get in and out of Realflow. So now we have the setup here, and it's ready to go. So inside Realflow, I'll just click, you know, I have the circle emitter here, I have the glass, and I just click simulate. And now it starts to pour out particles. And, you know, I'll just stop the simulation. You can stop it at any time. I'll get my particle here, and I'm going to turn it a bit more. Go back, click simulate once more, because I want to show, as it is right now, it's just pouring out particles, but they're not affected by anything, and right now they're not even hitting the glass. So we need to tell it what to, you know, what to work with. And in here, in the demons shelf, we have all the different forces that you can apply to the particles. Lots of different objects here and options. In this case, obviously we need a gravity, because we want the particles to fall down as they would in the real world. And on top of that, I'd also like to add a floor here, so when the particles pour over the top of the glass, they fall down on the floor and stay there. So I'll add a plane here in the geometry tab. Oh, and if you, I think I'll just skip to this view. Turn off the grid so we can better see it. So let's see what this does. Yes, I want to overwrite. Oh, this looks sort of like it, but I've obviously made a mistake, so I'll go in here, circle. I've moved it. So, oh, I have to go here and start it from. So now it seems to work. And while this is simulating, we can go into Cinema 4D and set things up while the Realflow is working in the background here. So now we have the glass here. That's fine. We might like to have some lighting in here. I'm just using here in the visualize content browser, the visualize preset, going into the light setups, and there we have this light box. Drag it in, move or delete the test objects. So we just have the glass here, and now we have a glass here with a quick lighting setup. So it's just, this is not the most beautiful thing you can do, but it's a really quick setup. And in regards to the things I mentioned with thinking that Realflow and everything, that was just too difficult to set up. In a matter of minutes, we have a scene here that we can start to tweak and improve. And obviously, if you get a job, you don't tell your client, well, we'll just use 20 minutes. You get a day or two or something, so you have a lot of time to fine-tune it. But the initial steps are really easy, and that's really what I wanted to show you here. So now Realflow has finished, and we can play back the simulation here. Yeah, up until frame 75. So it fills up and spills over the top here. Inside of Cinema, we need to get the particles into the scene here, and we can do that by the plugins. That was loud. We can do this. In this case, I'm using the Realflow Render Kit plugin. The Render Kit creates the mesh inside of Cinema on the fly, so we don't have to mesh all the particles inside of Realflow. We can just use the particle stream and use them in Cinema, and then the particles are being meshed inside of Cinema. So I have prepared this mesh here. I'll just enable it. And in here we have various tabs here. So inside of the particle files, I go in and select my glass quick folder and the particles here. Here I have the circle 1 bin file. This is the entire sequence that Realflow has created for us. So when I open that, click play, and you can see it doesn't spill over like it did in Realflow, but that's because the timeline here is too short. So and now it starts to spill over. So this is not delivery ready by any means yet, but it's a matter of minutes, and we have something we can work on, and we have something we can show to the client to see, is it something in this direction you want. I finished, a bit more finalized version of this here. Just pouring in the particles and pouring over the top of the glass here. So that's one thing, and if I choose to render it, I'll just take a region because it's a small machine I have here. As you can see here, it's very blobby and thick looking, but inside of the RK mesh object here, we have the particle files. We can adjust the radius of the particles, and this adjusts the look of the fluid. So we can fine-tune that. If the flow is good, and you think you have a good flow here, you can start to fine-tune the look of the mesh and how it. Not how it behaves, because that's controlled by Realflow, but how it looks, and we have more parameters here to work with. And if we want to, in here you can see the meshing is done. If I just go up, I think this is the default setting. And now you can see I have a more rough, edgy mesh. That can be used for some cases, but usually you want to have a smooth mesh. But that can all be controlled in here. So in Cinema, on the fly, you can do these adjustments. Okay, well, so this is one very, very simple thing to do. But let's do something else. I'm just opening another project, which is basically the exact same project that I have done, but I've went in and I've copied the emitter. So now I have two emitters. I've just copied it, moved it over. So now I have two particle streams. And one thing I need to mention here as well is down here you have the relationship editor. You have a hub here, and that hub connects all the elements together. So we have the lathe, this is the glass, we have the circle 1 emitter, circle 2 emitter, we have the ground plane, and then we have the gravity. So that connects all of these forces and objects together to create the final simulation. So in this case, what's going on is it's just pouring these two liquids inside of the same glass, and they're mixing in there. And what do we want to use that for? Well, if we open up the project here, same setup as before, as I mentioned. We have the particle files, and in here we have, before I only used the sequence 1. You have the option of up to 10 different sequences of particles you can load into the same RK mesh object here. So we have the sequence 1, as you can see out here, we have circle 01. That's visible, right? Yeah. And I've colored it red, which you'll see in just a while. And here I've loaded the circle 02, and that's white. So pressing play gives us this. So now we have two different liquids. If I wanted to, I could even tell them to have different sizes when it comes to rendering. So we have, one particle stream is one size and the other is another size. But in this case, I want two similar looking liquids pouring into the glass and mixing. Okay, so this is it. And looking at this, I'll just turn off my glass object so we can render it. And we have this now. So two liquids pouring in and mixing. If we look at this mesh here, I'd like to have, the red particle stream red and the other another color. And that's perfectly possible also with just a few clicks. Right now I've just added these two colors to my render kit mesh, and the only thing that is being rendered now is the final final texture tag here, which is the way Cinema 4D works. But if I go in here, create a shader, we have different shaders here, the Realflow melt material, and if we put that up on here, it has to be the final material. Then it can mix these two materials together based on the particle streams. Right now, nothing really happens apart from everything being rendered black, because it doesn't have the information it needs right now. But going in here, in the RK mesh, we have a channel tab. And all these channels are coming from the particle stream, and we can use them for different purposes. In this case, I want to use the weights here, because that's weight from one particle stream and the weight from another. And I want to create vertex maps. So, and as you can see, Realflow automatically adds these vertex maps, weight 2 and weight 1. And now we can mix the materials. So the melt material uses the weight tags in masking out these colors together, and it can even be used if we have two different colored liquids, so it mixes over time. I've just created this so you wouldn't have to wait for it. I've just created this preview of how it looks. And again, we're 20 minutes into the presentation. We have two different solutions that's perfectly usable as a proof of concept and showing to the client or the art director or what it is. So it's, I really think it's a very quick workflow for simple things like this. So, but let's try to get crazy with it and do some things Realflow or Next Limit might not have thought of. This was one of the first animation I did with Realflow. I wanted to test it and wanted to see, how does it work? Is it easy? Can we play with it? How do we break it? How do we bend it to do something that doesn't necessarily look like all the water simulations that everyone does? So let's try to do something a bit more different. And this was what I ended up doing. And as the first project I shown you, this is also really easy to set up. I'm going to be showing you first of all here the Realflow setup, because that's even more simple than the others, or just as simple anyway. I go in here, 3D Realflow, ball test, there. Yes. So this is the particle stream. As you've seen before, out here in the nodes menu here, we have the sphere, we have a plane, we have gravity, we have a circle emitter, a standard particle emitter like before, and then I've added an attractor, which makes all the particles attract into the center of the scene here, so they wouldn't, just float outwards. I wanted to gather them once again in the end of it. So this is just a setup. It didn't take long. And let's see how we can use and abuse this in Cinema 4D. As I've mentioned at some of my earlier presentations, the software engineers, their job is to create some amazing software that works and don't break, and that's nice to work with. And our job as artists is to break and bend and abuse it to create something that was possibly not intended. So that's one part of our job anyway. So I wanted to test out some new things and see where this was going. So this is the particle stream, exactly what you saw from Realflow. Nothing special there. I've added the same particle stream. I've added it here to a Realflow Render Kit mesh, which I can just turn on. I can turn this one off. So this is like before. I have to go in here, display, show mesh, and do this. Update. Ah. So this is basically the same as in the first two examples. It's a Realflow RK mesh. Okay. So that's fine, but then I also added this Realflow. It's up in here, Realflow particle importer. This just imports the particles. It doesn't create a mesh or anything. It imports the particles. So now we can use that inside of Cinema for different effects. The particle importer here has the render option here, where you can I've told it to render a sphere. You can tell it to render a sprite or an object. So you can use this, kind of like MoGraph, and make it render trees or cars or whatever that follows these particle movements. In this case, I've rendered a sphere, added a luminant material. My thought with this was, create these self-illuminant, glowing particles and have a mesh outside it. So these luminant spheres are suspended in the liquid. Come on. Ah, that's better. So this was kind of the effect I was after, trying, just something different. I thought it looked good, but I also I really like the tracer object in Cinema 4D and wanted to see if I could do something about that. Because the tracer object, that's part of the MoGraph toolset, traces particles, vertices, objects, and creates splines based on those that trace. So, if just to keep the viewport simple, I'm turning off the RK mesh. The way I did that is by creating a matrix object. I'll just turn that on so you can see. A matrix object doesn't really, it just contains matrices, points in space that you can do something about. It's part of the MoGraph toolset, so you can influence it with all the effectors, and you can use deformers and everything. It's so that's what I did. I took the matrix object here, and then I dragged the RF circle particle importer inside of here. You can also use thinking particles, you can use the standard particle systems, you can use any animated object. And oh no, not animated object, that's for the tracer, sorry. But you can use different things here. And I use the circle one object here. So the matrix object is generating these clones, which is just for visual representation. They're not really doing anything right now. But what I did then was turn these off. I don't need to see them, I don't need to render them, but I want to have them traced with this tracer object. So, as you see here, the tracer object here, that's part of the MoGraph down here. I've dragged my matrix object in here. And what it does now is it's tracing all the matrices from the matrix object. So now we get this. I think quite a cool looking effect, and it's literally a few clicks. And then you have something visually interesting, in my opinion, anyway. One thing that's important in here is inside of the Realflow particle importer here, we have this option of keeping the order of particles. So now it keeps the same order of the particles all through the animation. If I delete that, or if I disable that, the lines jump back and forth because they're being renumbered on the fly. But if I keep the order of particles, everything stays put and works predictably. So this was one thing to do, and then I used the tracer object here inside of a sweep NURBS. I could have used a hair material, but I decided for a sweep NURBS here, and so we can render the lines here. Oh, that's not that fast. Slow machine I have here. So that was basically what I did with the first, the test I showed you. But then I got to thinking, well, we can do something more. Now we have this as a matrix object. We have all these particles that we can influence because it is a part of the MoGraph workflow. So let's see if we can do something here. I'll take a bend deformer, move that up. I'll just go here, that's a bit easier to see, and I'm going to move it this way. So now we have this, and I'm pressing play. Nothing really happens because we have to make it a child of the matrix object, or in the same hierarchy, so I'll just make it a child. So now all the matrices here, they're being influenced by this bend object, and now we can throw all the particles out on the wall here at the right. Still the same particle flow from Realflow. So this is one way of using it. But then, if we disable that, we can also start to influence it by effectors. let's take a random effector. This randomizes, in this case, I haven't done anything apart from the default settings, so it randomizes the position. I want to change the random mode to noise here, so it animates. So if you see this, I'll just turn this one off. Nothing happens. That's for a reason, because I forgot to add this in the matrix object into the effectors. So now it's moving all these points here. So this is, I think that was kind of interesting to be able to use the streams for this. We can do something else. We can also, let's say we'll have a spline effector. That needs to, it needs to be here as well. And let's go up and look at this from the top view. Create a spline, sort of an odd-shaped spline. A flower here. Can you? Yeah, that's visible there. Let's say, okay, so now the spline effector will move all the. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here. Into the. I need to grab the right one. Yeah, it's Sunday morning. Yeah, there. So now all of the particles are moved up on the spline. Well, this doesn't really work as planned, so we'll do something else. We have a fall off here in the spline effector here. So let's do a linear fall off. Let's see, this gets kind of crowdy. Let's look at this from above. Yeah. So as I move this through the cloud of particles, it moves all the particles out on their spline positions. So let's go, I think there. Let's do a simple coordinate. Command click the position here. Move this over. And command click once more. So everything is moved by the random effector, and now they're being moved out to the spline effector. But I'd like to have some more movement afterwards. So, and that's one of the things I love about the MoGraph system. It's non-destructive. You can change anything on the fly, and it really works beautifully. So I'm telling it to use the spline effector first, and then add the randomness to it. So now when everything moves out to the splines here, it still wobbles afterwards. So, and this is just to show how versatile this setup and this workflow is. We can use it in many different ways, only really limited by your imagination. And I really love this. One thing I would like to show as well. If we take the Realflow Render Kit mesh, that can also be influenced by. I don't think it can be influenced by the effectors. I haven't tried that actually, but it can be by the bend deformer. So you can actually bend the liquid mesh as well. This is one option. You could also decide that you want to do different things with it, and you have all of these different deformers to use on it. Okay, so this is it for this kind of animation. I have another thing. This is a slightly more advanced setup. I'm just going to be showing you how it's built up. I'm not going to be doing that much hands-on, but this has an object here following a spline, and then the liquids or the particles move along the same spline. and hits the object and breaks up. And the cinema version of this looks like this. I have it here. If this is turned off, well. And this is also very simple. We have a spline here, which we're using. The icon here is in a null object. The null object has this align to spline expression. I've dragged the camera spline in here, and then I can animate this position parameter. So if I need to change something, I don't know if you all know this, it's basic cinema workflow. If I need to change something with the animation path here, it's just a matter of changing the spline and the object follows. So this is one thing. And I've used a camera here. I have a start camera. This is my start camera, and this is my end camera. So this is start, and this is the end, and this is the start camera. And I've created a morph animation between those two. So this is the basic animation setup. Once again, I went to the Realflow exporter, and every setting is just left at default. We have to make sure we create all the frames we need for the animation and export it. I have done so already, so I'll just go into Realflow and open this. Icon demo here. Yes, I do want to. So what we have here is the icon thing from Cinema is in here. It's animated inside of Realflow here, and there's a thing that's kind of cool in the way Realflow is set up. Like in Cinema 4D, we have F1, 2, 3, 4 for the viewport. In Realflow here, we have just the 1, 2, 3, 4 keys. Again, one from top, front, right, or side, I think. 4 is a perspective camera, and 5 is the active camera. So in this case, Realflow brought in my camera from Cinema 4D, the camera I've animated. It's brought into Realflow, and now I can look at it from this camera. And that extra addition, I really like that you have both a standard perspective view and a camera view all set up in the keyboards shortcuts. That's it's just a workflow thing that works really well for me, at least. Okay, so we have this, and I have a circle particle emitter here, and as you can see, the green one here, that is a spline I've created that follows the general animation of the icon. This was created directly inside of Realflow, but Realflow does have the ability to import splines. They have to be in the SVG format, but if you have an SVG path or spline, you can import it into Realflow. Okay, so and this setup here, we have the particle emitter here dragging the particles along this spline. The yellow boxes here I have 2 of them here and here. That's noise fields, just to make the particles break up and be a bit more interesting to look at. But it's still returning to the spline, and then when it comes up here, it breaks up a little bit more again. And I had the problem, I'm going to be looking at this from the top. I had the problem that when the particles hit the object here, they started to accumulate behind the object because they wanted to stay within the spline area. They were attached to the spline, so they want to stay there. So they just accumulated behind the object. And the way of dealing with that was with the help of Thomas Schlick. He's sitting here at the audience. He's from Next Limit, Realflow expert. he helped me get over this problem. Is that, if you create a filter daemon, you have the option to go in here. Inside of the filter daemon, you have different conditions, and one of them is that you have a condition called on-particle collision, meaning that when you have a particle collision, something happens. And the thing that's happening is that the source file here, which is my particle emitter, is moving the particles over to a container object. So I have a container object here that's also part of the particle system here. So now my particles are moved from the original particle emitter onto into a container, and that gives us the ability to apply some other forces to it. As I mentioned, we have the hub here, connecting all of these different parameters I've set up. But we also, I added a new hub, connected the subdivision surface, which is my my icon here, because we still need that. We still need collision on it. But the new particles moved over to the container here, are being affected by this wind daemon. So we can have, the same entire setup, but you can have different particle streams controlled by different systems, all within the same scene, all very seamlessly. So that's the way I did that. And if I select this one, the container here, the particles are highlighted in the viewport, and you can easily see what happens. Now they hit, so they're moved over to the new particle emitter, the container, and blowing out with the wind. So that's a slightly more advanced setup, but still, something that's not too difficult. The most of the time spent in Realflow and things like this, I find is fine tuning. So that's why I said the setup is really easy and really fast, but the fine tuning does take some time, and that's just part of the process. But as I've hopefully shown you, it's not that difficult to get started with, and definitely doesn't need that team of specialists for simple projects like this. So this was what I was going to be showing you with this icon here, or this icon file here. The rest of the stuff has been added in After Effects. The blinking face here and motion blur, depth of field, and that kind of stuff is made in After Effects. So, and I'm getting this. I just have a few more minutes left. I'd like to, just show you this, this project. It's for a Kickstarter campaign that is, I thought it was already started. It's starting in a few days for a new ice cube container. Well, you can see it here. So that's it. And this is a bit outside of the Realflow workflow, but this is also just, there is some Realflow in here, but not much. And as I as I mentioned previously, we get low to medium budget projects, and if this was done by one of the major effects houses or some, it would look infinitely better. But this has been done in, the entire setup of the scenes and animations and the lighting has been done within just over a day's work for the entire project. And then there was corrections and new takes and new things, but still in a day's work. One guy, turning away on or using cinema for a day, and then we have this entire setup. And I think that's, it could be better, but it could also be done in 8 days instead of just one, and then it would be better. But it's just, yeah, I'm sorry. I really love working with cinema because it's so efficient, and if you use it, use the tools you have at hand, you can really get good results in no time. I wanted to show just one thing. We got the model as a CAD model from an industrial designer. So we made this. I made this scene. Did some lighting and shading to get to the surface qualities and to see how it looked and make it workable, and did set up all the nulls and axes to make it easy to animate. So this is one scene here. So I knew we might get new versions of this, so I kept this in a single scene or a separate scene and used it as an XREF object inside of the animation scenes. And one thing I'd like, when I'm doing this, I want to make sure everything looks all right. I need to make some lighting. I need to judge the materials. So I need to, have my lighting present. But I don't want that imported into my animation scene because I might need some other types of lighting. And one easy way of doing that, instead of deleting and importing it again, is to go into Command D, the project settings. Inside of here you have the referencing, and I always create a null called no ref. And in here I put all of the objects I need in the scene but don't want to import into the final scene. So I just drag this one in here, make sure I have the, I can do, so I just drag it in here, make sure I have the hierarchy option enabled, so it takes the entire hierarchy into consideration, and turn it off. So now it doesn't get imported when I import into another scene. So, and I think I did have it open. Yeah. So, and in here the object here, I made a few use MoGraph again with some simulations, and made a couple of helper objects to help me do the simulation quick, baked it, and ready to go. And it's just about the same story with the others here. In this case, I have, as you'll notice, I haven't. I've converted the XREF to an editable object. So, and just animated in here. In this case, I also used the morph tag here, and I use it whenever I can, because it's just easy. It's not working in every situation, but if it works, it's very easy. So I set up my start camera. This is my initial position, and this is my end position. If I decide I need to finish, at another place, I just change my end camera, and the morph camera automatically updates to this. So it's really really easy, and with Cinema 4D's Bullet engine, Dynamics engine, everything just works out smoothly. And the final scene of this thing here is this. And like the previous examples I've shown you, I exported this into Realflow, added the particle emitter at the placement of the water tap, and made sure inside of Realflow that it reads the geometry very precisely with some of the parameters in here, and then off it went. So really, really fast and easy. Yeah. Well, I think this is concludes what I had to show you today. I don't know if do any of you have any questions, either to me or Thomas Schlick here from Next Limit. He's really a Realflow expert, so you can ask him just about anything. And I want to mention also, this is cinema, and we have Realflow, and we have the connection between them. It works really seamlessly. But Realflow Core is coming out. I don't know when, but it's being developed, and that's a integrated plugin into Cinema 4D. So you can have the core functionality of Realflow inside of Cinema 4D. You don't have to leave Cinema. You just stay in there and have the internal, internal plugin and do the liquid simulations in there, or any other kind of simulation it support. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. So, any questions? No? Okay. Thank you for being here, staying here. I hope you enjoyed it and got some good information out of it. Thank you.